understood, on the ride on our rivals. They can't stop us now, but go ahead and try though. All they gonna feel is the pain inside. Ho, foes get in.
It's your boy Gangster F Gucci back with another one, baby. Now, I've spoken on, these vatos, these Southsiders, these Sureños, these upstaters, whatever one best describes them to whoever wants to call themselves any of these titles. Like I said, I know that some of this stuff means different things in the Pinta, and I've explained before as far as why we call them Sureños up north, because that's how they established themselves up here back in the days, and that label has just stuck with them, right? But I've also spoken about how tight these videos were, with each other, and how they really didn't go as far as beefing with each other because, they didn't have the numbers to be beefing with each other. They got a lot of opposition already as it is. But there was a time where these two videos had a few incidents back to back throughout the 90s. And it was based mostly on territorial, boundaries and whatnot, right? Because Santos Pride, the Saints, before they were called the Saints, they were Second Street Posse, Lewis, Armis, and a couple other dudes were already in this area for a long time. But there was also older dudes from VST that also lived in that area, and it was kind of a mixed neighborhood. There was dudes from the Mob, from Libre, from Horseshoe. They all lived in that area. And back then, in the late 80s, no one really tripped off the Sureños as much as they started tripping, after American Me, and, around the mid-90s, shit was really ugly, you know what I mean? And during this time, like I said, Clanton and SSP occupied the same area, in about a 2-mile square radius where there was nothing but these vatos that were banging, south, the Southern California gangs and whatnot, right? Not the actual gangs themselves outside of Clanton. Clanton is original. Like I said, it's an LA gang. It's been around since like 1938. And other gangs have evolved from this gang, But this gang is also in other states and other cities. And one of the cities is San Jose, California. Now, Santos Pride, like I said, that shit started up too. These dudes have been around since the mid-'80s as far as them being Sureños, and then later on starting up this video, Santos Pride. Before that, it was Second Street Posse. Like I said, these dudes have been around for a long time, and they weren't occupying this area, but when the West Side Mob and the Horseshoe started beefing, this area became a neutral area, and it was basically up for grabs. And these dudes ended up posting up in that area and doing their thing. And by the time we knew it, they were already established in this area to where it wasn't going to be easy to move them out. You know what I mean? And Santos Pride is there today still, Clanton 8. And this is the story of not really why they ain't, but this is a story of some of the incidents that happened. And at some point, these dudes end up moving out that area, and SSP end up occupying that whole 2-mile radius as far as, the Southside neighborhood goes. You know what I mean? And this is the story. So Clanton, they came in like 92, and I told you the story about Clanton, how they came down, and it was a couple of dudes from LA. And, when they barely started writing that Clanton in the hood over there, they were writing Clanton 14. And then after a while, they changed it to 13 when they realized that, there was no 14th Street in this area, and 14th really signified the Norteños up north. You feel me? So they dropped the 14 and started putting the 13 to represent, Southern California, right? And Santos probably was in the area, and these vatos were all together at one point. And at some point, they had really no choice because Norteños were on these fools. But there was a time where, like I said, there was SSP, Clanton in this area, and then there was Video Criminales Locos. Now, these vatos from Video Criminales Locos, they all end up getting into SSP, and not by choice, and not really by force, but it was something that was asked of everybody in that area to get jumped into Santos Pride so that it could be just one big, Sureño gang. It would have been the biggest Sureño gang. And Clanton wasn't with it. The vatos from Criminales, they end up getting into Santos Pride and made that gang, a little bit stronger with the heads that they accumulated from this other gang. Like I said, a lot of these Sureño gangs, they swallow up other little smaller Sureño gangs. Or if the Sureño gang is a lot stronger, a lot of these dudes will leave some of these gangs, especially the ones that are putting in work that are a little bit more on point. They'll go to these other gangs that are more stronger and make that gang stronger. You know what I mean? So that was a lot of things that was happening in the 90s with these Sureño gangs. And Clanton wasn't having it. Now, Clantones wasn't that they were going against the grain and they didn't really want to join forces with these dudes because they were Sureños, like these guys were Sureños, and they had one opposition that was the Norteños. At the same time, Clanton is a well-known established barrio in Southern California, and there's no need for it to break up and join a gang in Northern California that is not even established like Clanton. It'd be like going backwards. So these dudes decided to say fuck no. And what happened is Clanton, these dudes from SSP and Criminales, they started giving Clanton a hard time, and then started giving them a run for their money and started catching these fools slipping and started jumping these cats. So at one point, Clanton had enough, and they went headhunting for these cats. And you know, everybody knows where everybody's at in this area because they were all kicking it together. So everybody knows who lives where and who kicks it where and all that type of shit. So Clanton had rolled up on these cats, and a riot kicked off, and these fools all got off. Now, you know, I'm gonna show you right here on this message where this vato says there was 3 riots. So it's not me just saying it. You know what I'm saying? And I've heard it from other people. And I remember because, like I said, back then, a lot of the familias from my barrio, they knew a lot of the familias from, you know, across the other side of Willow Street. Because a lot of the, you know, the mothers, the paisa moms, they all talked to each other and everybody knew what was going on, and they would tell their kids and their kids would tell us. And a lot of the homies went to school with these cats. So we knew that when SSP and Clanton had friction, we kind of knew what was going on. We didn't know the whole lowdown exactly, you know what I'm saying? But we did know that these dudes weren't seen eye to eye, you know what I'm saying? And that's when we would start attacking more because we knew that they were kind of, you know, in a vulnerable space at the time, and that'd probably be the best time for us, you know, to attack, you know what I'm saying? And while they're vulnerable as far as attacking each other, you know what I'm saying? But that was also a way for us to get them to unify because they really didn't have a choice. But at the same time, like I said, Clanton wasn't having it as far as joining SSP. And this happened like in 93, 94, the first time these vatos had got into it real crazy. Because like I said, SSP had jumped a couple dudes from Clanton, and Clanton wasn't feeling it. They were told to, you know, basically fall in place with SSP, or basically, you know, it's going to be beef. So that's what happened. Yeah, I mean, they started being beef. These cats started going at it with each other. And at the end of the day, from what I was told, is that, you know, Clanton was getting the best of them. And don't get me wrong, SSP ain't no punks. SSP, they gonna get their money too, and they were deep too, though. And these fools were gangbanging on each other, and I know because they were gangbanging on us. So they had time to fight with each other, and then they had time to, you know, to fight with us. You know what I mean? So we went back and forth all the time. And SSP is not no, they weren't pussies. They weren't punks. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they were all fucking straight savages, but there was a lot of these dudes that I give mad credit to, that they had more balls than a lot of other motherfuckers that we were warring with. You know what I mean? And so Clanton as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, these vatos came from LA, so they were on some other different kind of gangbanger shit. You know what I mean? A lot of them. And I'm not talking about the ones that got in later that were the fights. I'm talking about the ones that were coming from Los, you know, the Chicano ones, and some of these other vatos that been gangbanging. You know, they were on point. You know what I'm saying? And I know they were giving each other a run for their money. You know what I mean? So that was in 93, 94. Clanton still had a strong presence over there at the time of Farid and the 280 by the House of Pizza and shit, right? Because you got to remember that both of these barrios, both of these hoods had mutual respect for other barrios, but at the same time, some of these other barrios had basically picked sides of who they were gonna fuck with when all this shit was happening. You know what I'm saying? So one of the other problems that Clanton had was with VTG, Tammy Lee. You know what I'm saying? Because of the main vatos that came from down south that came up here, they weren't really respecting a lot of these other barrios because they felt like, you know, they're Clanton. You know what I'm saying? And they ain't playing, they ain't punks, and you know they've been gangbanging, so they're on that real gangbanger shit. And down south, they be popping each other all the time. So for them coming up here, it was like, you know, if they didn't like somebody, they're gonna cross you out and say fuck you. You know what I mean, type of shit. So Clanton was on that kind of a trip. You know what I mean? And like I said, Clanton they were on point when he at a certain. They're still probably the second largest or first largest. They're probably the second largest Sureño gang in San Jose right now, outside of VST. It's them and VST. It's like, you know what I'm saying? But they both have their little certain times, but they're both of the largest Sureño gangs in San Jose. And I say large, I don't mean they got hundreds of gang members. I already told you the numbers in the last fucking video. If you don't know, go check out the other video. You know what I'm saying? But that was one incident that had happened. And like I said, these vatos were going in the alley. You know, they met up, and they really meet up. they just ran into each other, homie, and Clanton took off. So the second time money that the incident had occurred was in 1996, 97, when this time a vato from Clanton had heard that these dudes were trying to recruit heads from Clanton again, and were kind of violating a pact that these dudes already had, or an understanding, and he wasn't feeling it. So I think he took off on some cats, and then it popped off again, basically. And these fools all started fighting with each other again in that area. You know what I mean? And these were some of the times where, like I said, they were strong, and they were together. You know, because I used to trip out, like, during these times they were fighting, there was still some of these dudes that got along with each other, so they would still gangbang on the norteños together. You know what I'm saying? Along with criminales. You know what I mean? But for a little bit, and like when I say they fought with each other, the Sureños have never had like a long-term war against each other. These gangs, they fight and then they squash everything, and then if something else happened that, you know, the Fiesta Club, or, you know what I'm saying, anywhere that they had, you know, would go during a certain time behind behind a hyena or a disrespect, these vatos would deal with it, you know what I'm saying, in a fucking gangster type of way, and then they would squash the shit, and then that was it. So it wasn't long-term war like us and Horseshoe that been fighting for decades and shit, you know what I mean? So, but there was tension that was there with these two fucking videos, because they were in the same area, and like I said, one gang is from LA and feels like it's, you know, has more, you know, they're more locals and shit. They're more fucking, they got more clecha, they got more history overall, you know what I'm saying? And because of this, they felt they should have more respect, you know what I mean? So these dudes telling them to get jumped in our gang and fuck what you're talking about is in the gang world, that's you know, that's treated as highly disrespecting this Vadio Clanton. So the second time when this shit had occurred in 96, 97, this little vato had jumped a gun. I ain't gonna say his name, but he had jumped a gun, and he went and handled business, and then the shit popped off again, and these dudes started going at it with each other again. You know what I'm saying? And then the third time that this shit had happened, money, because it got squashed, the third time was over a hyena, because a vato from Clanton had got with this one hyena from SSP, who was with the vato from SSP at one point, but I'm not sure if he got locked up or what happened with him, but this vato from Clanton basically stripped her from this dude, and this dude was, you know, they already had some kind of like animosity with each other, you know what I'm saying? So the shit had popped, you know what I'm saying? I know a couple of dudes from SSP, like Prep, and some of these dudes that they weren't really feeling Clanton. They felt like they have been there a long time for these dudes to be, you know what I'm saying, trying to push weight on them, and they should have the same amount of respect, if not more. So because of this, like I said, there was 3 different occasions as far as incidents between Clanton and SSP. At some point, Clanton, the vatos that were living in those areas around there, ended up moving out. So Clanton didn't really have a kickback spot anymore in those areas to be posting up. So eventually they end up leaving the area. You know what I'm saying? They went to another area on the east side, in the McLaughlin and shit, right? And then SSP went ahead and occupied that area. But Clanton was there since the early 2000s. We were over there getting off with these cats. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, they've had a presence there in that area for a long time. That's why they got a lot of older West Side cats. You know what I mean? And then now a lot of the youngsters, all from the east side and from the south side. And I remember when Clanton came in, they didn't come in as West Side Clanton, they came in as East Side Clanton. But they started jumping in little youngsters around that area that could have been from Horseshoe the Mob, but they ended up getting into Clanton, and that's how, you know, West Side Clanton was started up. But West Side Clanton don't have a vadio on the west side, so they, like I said, in the manpower they were accumulating in that area, stopped getting in Clanton and start getting in the SSP. As you know, like SSP was already trying to pull everybody just from SSP from that area. You know what I mean? So as soon as Clanton left the area, now they were able to accumulate any soldiers that were coming out from that area over by Reed and all the little off, you know, the back by CT area and all the little back streets around there. They were able to start accumulating those heads all into SSP, and then give Clanton opportunity to go ahead and keep on recruiting from there. So most of the youngsters from Clanton are either from the south side or from the east side now. You know what I mean? And like I said, they don't got a west side Clanton established on the west side. And like I said, so this was a little war that had happened between them, and it was off and on during that decade, the 90s. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if anything's happened, you know, since then, because I said I went to prison, and then I kind of stepped back from all the bullshit, you know what I mean? But the things that I do know was all these incidents were happening, you know what I mean? And even this dude right here with the that's on the thumbnail, this dude right here, the one that got busted for those murders, he was a homeless dude, all drugged up or whatever, right? But nevertheless, he was over there fucking handling business. I'm not going to say he did anything, because it's allegedly that he did all these things, and he's in court fighting these things and whatnot. But this dude also, I guess, had crossed out a old Clanton that was on a bench or an area over there in Santos area, and that almost kicked off another fucking Rayeta, you know what I mean? They're about to riot again and on these cats and get off. Right now, if Clanton wanted to go in that area and just take over, they're strong and big enough to go clean out SSP right there if they really wanted to. But I don't think these vatos are about knocking down each other. I think the more area, the more hoods that they got, you know what I'm saying? It leads more opportunity than these guys trying to knock each other down as like what SSP was trying to do to them. I don't think they would try to go and do the same thing what SSP did. Now, if it was me, that's what I would do. I would go just take over their shit, and that when whoever gets out older, they're not around anymore. They got to go somewhere else type of shit. You know what I mean? And that's how you get your runbacks. You know what I'm saying? And overall, at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Sometimes shit just happens. It just happens by itself type of shit, you know? But that was the issue that happened with SSP and Clanton. I don't know if people know about that. I know all the Sureños know what happened and all that shit. And I'm like I said, I'm not a Sureño, G. So I can't tell you exactly what happened. I know some of the dudes that were involved in all this. I got names, but I'm not gonna name everybody and all that type of shit. It's unnecessary. Although the statute of limitations, you know, clears anybody and like I said, I'm not actually talking about a crime outside of some people beating up each other and whatnot, right? Either way, you know, nevertheless, I'm not still gonna say no names, but I knew of a lot of these instances. You gotta remember, we're neighbors. And, you know, when you're neighbors, you hear shit, you know shit, you know what I'm saying? And you know, hyenas and all that kind of shit, you know, word gets around, you know what I mean? But like I said, I remember all this shit happening, you know what I'm saying? And I remember when these dudes weren't liking each other. I remember them crossing out each other, and then we would go and cross them both out, you know what I'm saying? The horseshoe would come and cross all three of us out, and it was just, because that was a war zone back then, you know what I'm saying? So it was always just, it was tit for tat with everybody in that little fucking circle, and that's why I say, like, when people don't understand is that at the same time that we're fighting with these two dudes and a bunch of other Sureño gangs that were going in that area, sometimes you have some of these Sureño gangs that didn't get along with each other, and they would fight with each other, and then we would go and rush them, and then it would take them out from hating each other because now they hate us more than they hate each other. So then they would just like it was fucking nuts. So you had Clanton fighting with SSP, Horseshoe fighting with SSP and Clanton, Westside Mob fighting with Horseshoe, Clanton and SSP. So it was just in that little area. Everybody was going at it. And then, like I said, you got to throw in Happy Hollow VST in the mix because they were there too. And bam, you know what I'm saying? It's just, and William Street. You have another Sureño gang. So you had William Street, you had Clanton, you had SSP, you had Criminales, you had VST, you had Horseshoe, you had Westside Mob, and they were all going at it. Like everybody was just, it was war. You know what I'm saying? In that area right there. If you weren't really with it, you were gonna get your shit fucking knocked down. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't know how to move around, you didn't know how to go on attack mode when and you know, I mean, you gotta know how to fucking smash. Basically, at the end of the day, if you didn't know how to do that shit, you weren't gonna last in that area. You know what I mean? And everything was about fucking getting your money. You know what I'm saying? And they fuck you, you gotta go fuck them right back. It's just the way it is. You know what I mean? And you gotta represent because that's how we had to do it on the west side. That's how it was back in the fucking 90s. You know what I'm saying? It was insane money. You know what I mean? And like I said, you know, this situation, this issue is something that had happened, and I only brought it up because I know that I always talk about the West Side. I talk about the and you know the abatement, the injunction they did on us, and I know I've said before that you know all the Sureños got along and they don't be fighting with each other, but there was incidents like this one, and there's another one that I'm going to get at you about when that has to do with Clanton again. Because like I said, when Clanton came over here, they came over here with a chip on their shoulder and felt like, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, they're legendary. They motherfucking, they got a history that goes back, you know what I'm saying, fucking 70, 80, 85 years, you know what I'm saying, that this fucking video has been around, if not longer, you know what I'm saying, from the Pachuco days and before that, you know what I'm saying, fucking, this gang started up a long ass time ago. So like I said, they came to Sanho, they established themselves, and they felt like, you know, they should get more respect than these vatos or these varios that were already here or that established themselves here before they even got here. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, respect is earned, and these vatos, they earned their respect and then they demanded it. You know what I'm saying? And some of these other vatos didn't really feel like, you know, they didn't have to give these dudes respect. And that's why there was fucking, you know, shit popping and shit that cracked. But nevertheless, like I said, at the end of the day, these videos end up being not, they respect each other mutually. They don't, none of these Sureño gangs don't try to disrespect each other. They all respect each other mutually. And they try to have a certain amount of respect for each other because they know that at the end of the day, there's only one enemy, and that's the Norteños. So they try to avoid that because they know this ain't Southern California, so you can't just keep on going off and fighting with each other. SSP is not the gang that it was. Clanton is still a strong gang, and it's growing. But when it comes to SSP, their numbers have just declined crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't got the handfuls of cats. You know what I'm saying? They don't got the carloads of motherfuckers moving around no more. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, SSP had a run. They had a good run. You know what I mean? I don't think that neighborhood is gonna last, too much longer. You know what I'm saying? If it, like I said, maybe it will, maybe, but I just don't see it ever being as strong as it was. You know what I'm saying? Especially nowadays because just gangs ain't the same. Norteño gangs ain't as big as they were. So for sure, Sureño gangs ain't gonna be as big as they were at one point. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, that puts these dudes in a situation where, that video might end up, falling off based on the fact that a lot of their manpower got caught up in that indictment. A lot of these dudes before and after were getting busted and shit like that. And a lot of these dudes fell off, you know what I mean? And in our county jail, they changed the colors because all the Sureños back in the 90s, early 2000s, they all went straight to brown, which is PC, protected custody. But some of these dudes fought that shit, and now they're in the lighter, like bluish color, or they're in another color. You know what I'm saying? Like the green or some shit, light green. They're just in a different color, not brown no more. And when this had happened, a lot of these dudes that were Sureños, they got the opportunity to choose if they wanted to stay in PC protected custody or go in this other color. That would basically reclass them, you know what I'm saying, so that they're not considered in protected custody. And some of these dudes stood in protected custody, so now a lot of these Sureños understood where these dudes fucking stand at. So that's a change that they did in our county jail for the Sureños, for the Southsiders, for dudes from up north that were banging in Southern California. That's what's happening in our county jail. So now they know the difference from who's no good, and as far as Sureños go and shit like that. And you look in the comments, they said that dude Weather was not even no good no more. He got deemed by some other cat. You know what I mean? Or some shit, right? I don't know none of the business, like I said, but it's out there. I'm going to post a comment so you can see the comment and whatnot. But like I said, this was a situation, an issue that happened. There was at least 3 different fucking incidents with these cats. And that was like the bigger incidents. There was a lot of smaller issues that happened during this time between these two barrios because, like I said, they were in a 2-mile radius altogether. And that sometimes, like I said, sometimes these dudes had no choice but to have each other's back. And sometimes, they went at it with each other. I mean, that's just how it was back then on the west side. You know what I'm saying? I'm out.
Life of the most hated song, misunderstood on the right on our rivals. They can't stop us now, but go ahead and try though. All they gonna feel is the pain.